Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Was a pleasure really to listen about all the projects and all the different perspectives that that Biodesign makes up. Essentially, like even from 5 speakers in one day, you can get a feeling of what that Biodesign can hardly be defined really, and that there's so many contributions from a lot of different fields on the sides of just digital communities, real life communities, spaces, and the philosophy behind it. Everything just makes up a field, and that's what makes it so great and so complex. I would like to start the panel discussion by actually opening the floor to everyone in the room, because it's a question about epistemic injustice, which is a very bold word to say basically that your colleagues don't respect you because you come from a different field. And so in this particular case, in biodesign, it happens a lot if designers or architects are together with biologists, and then the biologists cannot be talking too sciencey, and then they're like, well, then the designers aren't really understanding what they're doing, you know? And it can also happen vice versa, because essentially the architects and designers do not appreciate the work of the scientists. Is there anyone in the room from the audience that has ever come across this in the field of whatever, actually, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be biodesign. Louise, please. Okay, Zosha. Did you get the third mic? Because that one was for the audience. Or no? No? Okay. No, it's fine. I'll walk then. You want to share? Do you want to say something about it? Okay, it's pretty common. Zosha?
No, I just really wanted to say that like interdisciplinary research, when you're supposed to collaborate on and answer a bigger question, it's very difficult to properly present your perspective to people who don't have the background. But I think like on the other hand, it's helping you to rethink what your background is and what you really want to state.
All right, thank you. So, and turning more towards the speakers, I guess it's a question, how do we alleviate this problem? Do we address the problem of vocabularies? Do we address the problem of the fact that our labs are created in a particular space that doesn't allow for designers to walk in their dirty shoes or whatever?
From the perspective from inside the institution, it's not a new question. It is the same when art and technology or art and science projects were created. It can be from the artists themselves or from the scientists to scientific who wants to do something that is not immediately respect on a career perspective. But you have some institutions that build the context to do this kind of project. The START, when we met, START is a big, old European institution to build projects in between art and science or art and technologies. And it is the same question since ever. When you do not come from the same background, people do not understand themselves. So it is not a question from specific for biodesign, and it is not a question from a disciplinary point of view. It is a question of people, how they have been educated, but from small. I mean, it is not something that we can solve. I think it's really a question of respect and of curiosity.
Hello. Just for Had, many years ago when I go out of art school, I start to join a Fab Lab movement, but at this moment it's not really a movement, it's just people who try to make something. But I joined them, and of course it was most of them engineer, and I just go out of art school, so that means I learn alone in my garage to build my own 3D printer, and of course I don't understand so much. And in fact, yeah, the first year it was really terrible because when I ask some things, they really, I think I'm just an idiot. But okay, I accept that, and just I note on my on my book, okay, this is that. And after years, I finished by understand what about is the term. But of course, every domain use their own words. And actually, when I start my PhD, it was exactly same trouble with people in biology. It was to convince them about what I want to do, like grow object is possible. And in fact, it's a bioprocess. And I have to use exactly same words. And no, I have the word, so it's more easiest. But in fact, I continue to do exactly same things. But yeah, you have to make the sort of the role yourself and help them to understand you. It's because yeah, it's your works.
Yeah, I think it's also about meeting in the middle. So where I've collaborated with scientists before, and they have been very respectful of where we come from as designers and how we think, and maybe it might be crazy. We work in a very web-like way, so we look at the bigger picture and we try to connect different concepts together and to tell a story from that. Whereas scientists, they might work from very systematic point of view, so how can we prove certain things or how can we make it more functional? And me, I really try to learn their language in terms of reading their kinds of papers or trying to do experiments in their ways, not saying that, yes, I'm a designer, I will just work in my own ways, but also trying to put myself in their shoes and wear a lab coat, basically, and work like them so that I understand where they're coming from. And they were also trying to do the same for me. So really trying to, yeah, like empathize almost to be in the other person's shoes and being able to understand what are their protocols, what are their strengths, what might they be missing, and also being able to challenge each other to grow into one project, I think.
I would agree with that in the sense of meeting in the middle, and I think that's something that we've found useful with Alea is like when we're collaborating with scientists or researchers, it's been nice to go to a neutral ground, like not necessarily, like we don't necessarily feel inspired in a laboratory generally, and I think any scientist that comes to our studio would be terrified because I think we're like way off the spectrum of a lab, you know. But I think, yeah, meeting in the forest, for example, or meeting in some place where there's something in common, and I think that's what our version of a laboratory at Bois Vaucher has become. Is this kind of, yeah, that thing that you share, which is usually a love for nature in this case.
I think I bear the point of view of the scientists here. I'm going to give you a story of how Pili came to happen. Pili was not conceptualized first as a company. It was very much like a projection of an ideal coming from a discussion I had with Marissa, who is a designer. So that was me, a scientist, having discussion with a designer. When a scientist usually try to figure out how to use a technology or knowledge to make applications, this time we were more like dreaming, you know, about potential futures. And our focus was, what's the future of pen, right? Pen have been somehow locked into some kind of evolutionary, dead end. Like it hasn't moved very much, for dozens of years. But can it evolve yet? And we came to the idea of, can we have a pen that can grow its own ink? So instead of having a cartridge, you will have a small bioreactor inside the pen, and inside the bioreactor you will have bacteria producing dyes that you can write with. And when you don't have ink anymore, you just have to put some sugar into your pen to feed your bacteria again. So you have this symbiotic relationship with your pen. And we found this idea very beautiful, very elegant. And at some point I thought, you know what, maybe we could make this happen. I didn't think first of making a bioreactor pen that would be really, really challenging to miniaturize a bioreactor inside such a small space. But first of all, was can we make ink out of bacteria? That was the first question. At the time, that was in 2012, I was still doing my PhD, so I had access to my academic laboratory, but also I was in La Paillasse. This was typically the kind of idea I couldn't do in my own academic lab, because it was too far-fetched from the topic of the lab. So I did it in La Paillasse instead, so it gave me that freedom. In fact, in just a matter of a few months, we made a proof of concept. But what came to us first was not, oh, we should make a company. In fact, we were so excited about it that we wanted to tell the world about it and to show that bacteria are not those dangerous things. You know, they can actually be very helpful. So with Marie-Sarah, we worked together to create a kit that people can use to grow their own ink. And we gave workshops to kids and adults around the world to show them, you know, what bacteria could do. We did that for a couple of years, and to the point, at some point, we realized maybe actually there is an actual case that we're not going to change the world by teaching everybody to grow their own ink. We have to change the industry. So that's how we shift from being just a biodesign project to being an industrial startup. But P didn't start it as a technology created in a lab. It started as a dream created by a designer and a scientist.
I think the story of Pili and a lot of the works that have come out of La Paillasse are really inspiring in terms of collaboration that just sparks from two people coming maybe from different walks of life, but being united in just the excitement and having the facilities that are available to them. But I would still like to go back. We're going to talk about the physical spaces in a second, but I would still like to dedicate some time to talk about the education. That's what we started with. But because the problem of respect between the different disciplines, does it mean that we all should be introduced a bit to design, for example? For every single biologist, every single biological engineer should be introduced to the concept of biodesign when they are, when they're just being educated, when they're in their bachelor's degree. How do you best see this happen? And I'm addressing this question first to Lucille, because I want to hear also a bit more about the kind of crowd that comes to visit your workshops in Nîmes. Like, is it just random people? Do you see any patterns, for example, emerging? And do you see any ways that we could engage people who would typically not be interested?
Maybe the crowd who came for the opening of the workshop, it's not only for my workshop, because there were 5 workshops, so maybe it's not a good perspective. But I can talk about the people who are coming to the workshop that are not my students. Because some are my students, so they have to choose in between the different workshops. So yeah, they finish to choose the smelly workshop, and I present them like that. So it's okay. They know what they signed for. But I have people that come for 1 week and they are not from Nîmes. They pay for their train, they pay for their stay in the city, and they just want to attend during 1 week to this meeting. So it is possible, because my guests have the generosity to stay the whole week also. Some are just staying 1 or 2 days, depends. But last year it was François-Joseph Lapointe, who is a biologist from Montréal, from Université de Montréal, and he's also a performer. So he's also a large mind, because he's also in between art and science. But he stays the whole week. And his presence was very nice for the student to see. We break the relationship, the hierarchic relationship between teacher and student. And those persons who come, or I have also some people that are makers, or one guy the first year, he was master of design from Saint-Étienne school. And he wanted to specialize in making shoes, and so he wanted to experiment with bacterial cellulose. He stays 2 weeks, and voila. It's just, what I mean is your intuition about community and about this very moment. And what you said about the places, and we need to gather, and we need to not be only on a hierarchic relationship saying, you, the scientist, you need to learn what is the design, what is art, and what is biodesign, and this is my expertise. No, we have to break that, and this is how we build the respect, in my perspective.
Anna, do you have experience, because you come from fine arts backgrounds, but you teach biodesign specifically in design / technical university in general. So what are the kind of people that join your classes? Do you have a lot of engineers? Do you have a lot of designers? And from your experience teaching to these people, do you notice that there's a particular approach that you have to apply to make these people either converge to make projects together, or even to just digest the information that you are trying to get across to them?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, we have a lot of students coming from creative backgrounds. So design, art, media, and so their interest is very much from that perspective, rather than scientists coming to our space. We have other labs that are more catered towards scientific research, so to say, like a biosafety level lab, but the people who come to our studio are people who might not want to work in that kind of a more regulated environment, which is what we were missing at the university. And in order to get them to learn about, for example, biological mechanisms, which are very important to understand, in biodesign, we try to approach a very hands-on approach to theory. So if we are working with bacterial cellulose scoby, for example, when we make the containers, we think about, okay, why do we have to open, why do I have to have cloth on the top? Is it because the bacteria have to breathe and therefore it needs some kind of a breathable cloth? So these kinds of little microbial mechanisms we like to learn by actually creating the conditions together and tinkering with that. Instead of giving them a textbook to read and say, okay, what are the criteria that bacteria needs in order to grow? So combining design artsy methodologies or design artsy educational methodologies with biological theories, I think, is something that we're also trying to develop. So
this neatly brings us to the question of spaces, and I really loved what Stella said a second ago about how a researcher would be afraid of the studio, the shape in which your studio is. Could you tell us a bit more about how you approach the space? So this, for you, it's an essential creative input into your work as a collective. But have you, for example, had contaminations? Because I am a bioengineer, and I can tell you that when I work with fungi, it's not always it's not always easy to prevent contamination, and yet you come out with such huge macro, objects, whereas I struggle with a microfilter box.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our relationship to contamination has changed so much in the process and the spaces we've been in, but we actually started working during COVID. And it was an interesting time to start also teaching mycelium workshops, and we were teaching students online and kind of guiding them on how to turn their kitchens into makeshift labs, and also simultaneously we were working in our very dirty studio in Fontainebleau, which was just like a mess in terms. I mean, it was not a sanitary place, and we just observed like the level of contamination was much lower when we weren't trying to sterilize. It sounds a bit strange, but we were kind of trying to push that in the other direction. But we found when we were kind of trying or half sterilizing things or in the middle, we got more contamination. So it was all or nothing for us. We're either going all the way, or we're embracing that we're working in a dirty environment and incorporating all the bacteria present. And that was kind of what led to Back to Dirt, was really like challenging the need for sterility. And especially also saying that we're working with mycelium at a phase that it's already robust and has a defense mechanism, and it's not the cultivation from the fungi, like we're at a different stage of growth, so there's that. But yeah, it's definitely influenced, and I think it's also just Miriam and my kind of methodology is very messy. We're very not lazy, but like we're not following the rules maybe. And I think we pushed that to a point where, yeah, we could get to, we kind of made our own rules, I think, with the mycelium. But it was really, yeah, I think the spaces, and then now we're in a much like kind of more middle ground. I think we have a space that's, we can have a sterile environment if we want, and so we're playing with both at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I mean, I support the myth of sterility, but the problem for me personally, and I think for a lot of my colleagues as well in a variety of institutions, is that once you've seen what a clean lab looks like, it's really difficult to get that out of you, like, because and I suppose you always kind of want to mimic that initial impression that you got during your, undergrad studies as a biologist from any facet. But does anyone have an idea how you kick that out of a biologist for them to allow, for example, to enter these kind of spaces and say, okay, you know what, we can still do innovation, we can still do design, and we can still work together? Because even myself, I'm subject to a lot of fear when somebody opens a cupboard door and they say, this is our biolab. Vivian?
I don't know exactly what reply. It's complicated because I have all the history. I have built a biolab in really fucking garage, like terrible with contamination everywhere. It was really terrible. We have used this with Threads Collective during maybe 2 or 3 years. After we move in other place, like this is a place where it's a collective artist open place. So we have again a dark room where we can go, and I planify to clean everything and to make it enough good for grow some mycelium. But yeah, I work more with kombucha, maybe because this history, because kombucha is acid acetic, so it defends itself. So I have grown it in really dirty place, and he don't care, he survive. So mycelium, it's more complicated, but of course you can use some species specifically adapted to that. The most of problematic is for yourself if you are in really dirty place. And actually in engineering school, so we have this plus kitchen with our biolab. And it's a kitchen plus. We have some stuff from real biolab, but we have it's a kitchen, so tiny bit adapted. But the problem is the students. I think, they won't make things. It's really cool. They are really, really engaged, and they won't produce things. But for mycelium, how it's complicated, because when it starts to be really white, it starts to sporulate everywhere. So it's like terrible, and you can catch it, it's impossible. It's like just everywhere. And I certainly it, but it's multicellular, so that means it can survive to many sterilization. So even if you use bleach on the wall, you don't care. If you use hot water, you don't care. If you use mycelium, find a way to back. So just it survive on the wall, it survive on surface, it survive. So yeah, they try to make things. So now they produce really interesting design. So they make really cool things. But yes, the biolab is really dead. So it's a game. But I think it's sort of point. It's what you have presented before. It's we are in the sort of free zone. It's not too much regulated, because we have discussed a lot about that. But my experience of makerspaces or every place I've built is, if you close too much the things, nothing happens, because people don't want they are afraid, so there are so much rules, and these rules just block people. If you want something happen, you need to let the things happen. So the problem is, of course, is a mess, but it's a deal. If you don't have a mess, nobody wants make something because he's afraid to make just a tiny, something on the surface or, yeah.
Thomas, what kind of spaces would you build in the new La Paillas? Would you make it sterile? Would you make it a combination? What would you do?
Definitely a combination. I think you need a gradient. It's from the most neutral, space where you can do anything, to potentially like the most sterile place if you want to push the envelope. La Paillas, like V2, I said like V1 was in the squad. La Paillas V2 was already a gradient. It worked well. Like we could enable, like there was so many interfaces. Some projects were in between biology and design or engineering. Some were just pure engineering, or like pure like textile, for example. Some were pure biology, and the biological lab was really like at the center, and so everybody could see what's going on in the lab. It was not just like a space. Closed and unavailable to other people.
Yeah, just one thing. I think it's because I have thinking about a lot about that, because I don't need, in fact, there are two use. When there are La Paillas, you have this really crazy lab for synthetic biology in the site, so you can make really, really cool things. But of course, it was a sort of too high, because most of people don't need to, depend of the project. And I think there are two sort of lab. You have the lab for make biomaterial, for example. This one is more like a kitchen, really well kitchen, high lux kitchen, and it's certainly enough for most of people. But if you go to deep biology, of course, you need protocols. You need to repetitive experience. So that means you need to make something more like a classical biologic lab, and it's really not the same usage. And I think it's sort of point. Actually, most of people just create one place, but in fact there are certainly two places. And because you need to start by the start, and after maybe you can go in the other, or if you go from the high top level because you are a biologist in synthetic biology or something really high skill, certainly you need to down in the other side for maybe understand better what you do, because it's in one side or other side. But certainly it's really good for people to make this road.
So if we want these spaces to exist, then we need to maintain them. And with La Paillas' example, we saw that it's not so easy always, especially if you want to go towards non-conventional business models. So this is not going to be a question just about business models so that only Thomas can talk about it, but it's more of a question about what kind of spaces, like how would we like to use the spaces that would be available in a city? Would this be something that is, for example, you go out of the city and you kind of engage in this more of a community center? I think similarly to what Lucille was saying, that you don't necessarily need to be in the cities. You can also have a more distributed network of such places. But we know that in the big cities is also where people tend to want to do more experimental new things. So as artists and designers and educators and researchers, what kind of a space do we want, and how do you see it being supported by like the government? Would you want it to be supported by the government? Would it be like a donation-based thing? Would it be like a time cafe where you pay per minute or something like that?
Well, I can answer. If you do something in a big city, it's going to be expensive. Public funds are not going to be enough. So you need to work out a business model that require to have revenues, or at least a lot of private participation. I think nowadays having an early stage like incubation lab for biotech makes sense. Much more sense that it used to, to be in 10 years ago. So I think it's going to be much easier to convince a lot of partners to help. And we see a lot of, projects for incubating, again, like biotech projects and startups. We have Ariel that is working on the biofoundry, which is going to be such a space. And so there will be a network basically of laboratories in Paris already. And so they need to have like this gardening, of ideas that can be turned into proof of concept is going to be critical for also these other labs to like incubation labs to be furnished. I mean, again, the idea is to say that academic labs can obviously provide a lot of technology and ideas, but there is, they don't have like a 360-degree of point of view. So they cannot look at everything. So there is a lot of margin, to explore things in different ways, and that's why these kind of open labs are so important.
And so, on the user side, like imagine you're an emerging artist or designer who wants to work with living organisms. Would it be beneficial for you to be able to come somewhere where there would be always available assistance, like scientific assistance, for example? If you want to work with a particular organism, you kind of come and it's just like a consultancy. Would that be something beneficial or detrimental to your own experimentation, because it deprives you of that tinkering, of the excitement that you go through when you're discovering a new platform for yourself or media?
Complicated question, but I think just before this question, there are just something. It's many people try to find a place where made biodesign in Paris, because it's a place I know the more. Because when already I have built this biolab garage after Payas closed, so with threads, many people comes to see us. I can do that. Yeah, I need place for that. Okay, but it's just a garage, really roots. And of course we help them, but yeah, the problem is all the place we don't have money. It was a moment we make the things alone, so it's complicated. So when you are at any place is already complicated, but actually where I am in my engineer school, we start to build a sort of residency for bio artists and media artists, and we are actually we have already 5 artists who are passed there, and maybe 2 more bio art oriented, specifically Soliman Lopez, I think, is more, because I help him to work on synthetic DNA for our projects, and this innovation, who are more on a bioreactor, and one of our students has worked on the engineer on the bioreactor from microalgae. But yeah, again, it's really complicated because we're a tiny institution in a big institution. So it's only the good points. But yeah, we don't have infinite skills, knowledge, time, energy, resources, and particularly place, because in Paris, and we are in Défense, but it don't change so much. It's a really complicated place too, for have a place for build things. So yeah, I don't know actually, but as Thomas say, I think we need to put. I think everybody would need, because there are really many institutions actually who are interested in by biodesign. I know NC and SAD. I make some course at Camondo on mycelium. I don't remember how many places were interested or asked me to make something, but yeah, there are many places. But actually, nobody work together. I think we need to build something like that, but it's how we do it, and how this place can be yeah, not related specifically to one institution. I think it's better because it need to be his own sort of autonomy.
Yeah, so I think adding to your point, I've visited, I think so far around 20 different biospace infrastructures around Europe, and one of the common things that people were always telling me is that these design and art students don't have a place to go because they cannot enter a conventional biolab because they don't have a science degree, or they don't know the protocols, or their projects don't align with what they're expecting. They're maybe too out of the box for the science community as well. And those labs are already packed with their own students and their own researchers, so they don't have enough capacity to open it up to people from other fields as well. So I think in order to combat that, I think one of the things that I've seen in a lot of other countries also that have been starting is to start some kind of a use an already existing public space, and then to start biodesign in there instead of building everything from scratch. So for example, in public libraries in the Netherlands, they have been building some bio facilities within their maker spaces, which opens it up very much to people who are just little kids, to people who are older, because a lot of people visit libraries, and then if you make a glass window, then everybody's just interested in the workshops and the things that are happening. So I think that's how we can also educate the next generation of biodesigners. And just to kind of going back to the question of when do we expose them to biodesign? If they're already exposed from a younger age through these really fun workshops that they can try, then I think this idea of science versus art or science versus design barrier is less prominent, maybe.
Thanks.
So my question is, first of all, thank you to all of the speakers, organizers. My question is about, generally as a person not from the field, but listening to you, that appeared in my mind that how important you think is to study the previous experiences of humanity regarding the biodesign, that kind of biodesign anthropology, because in different countries, cultures, geographies, I believe the approaches were very varying throughout the history, and maybe now as well. So how do you look at those different schools? Where do you find your personal inspiration? Maybe some of it originates from your own past and your own localities. So yeah.
No. Well, I mean, you spoke a lot about philosophy, so.
I think one of the, because I live shortly in China, but I love the book of Yu Kui, Cosmotechnics is really good one, I think. It's a good reader of Bernard Stiegler because it was his student. And I think it's really interesting his point of view because it's a question of techno-diversity. Is how we can, it's sort of way how we interpret techniques in different cultures and what we do with it. And so he tried to understand how China have tried to understand modern technology from West and how they have tried to up after the revolution. But it's a long history. I mean, it's a really sort of philosophy anthropology, but there are many things. But after we can see the question in other direction, like the different biology schools or chapel, if you prefer. But it's complicated. This story is really, really complicated because if you discuss with American, it's really different than European. And if you discuss with the Russian, I suppose it's another things too. Complicated. And even biology is not agree actually about the question of kingdoms and the question of how life is born. So I think we are not ready for that.
Yeah, there's actually a historian of idea of technology and biology as well, and he's working in from Oxford, and also one of the member of Cambridge's exist and show crisis, this kind of study. So yeah, as long as we're in this trend of art science going together, there are a lot of scholars on this direction as well. So we can do more research on, yeah. For example, there's Anticathedra, if you know. Yeah. So there's think tank behind it, and then philosopher, yeah, it's a whole rabbit hole to deal with on the other direction rather than the commercial direction. Yeah, but both very interesting. It's like we are on the edge of the digital and environmental transformation. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I think right now, I also said in my presentation, but biodesign is framed as an emerging discipline. It's framed as a very new discipline, but actually it's not. It's one of the oldest discipline that's been there. So I think our reframing of biodesign as creating new materials or creating new practices or rethinking things, I think has been there for centuries. We're just reframing it in another way, in a modern, contemporary context. And there are colleagues of mine in Portugal who are working with indigenous knowledge and saying that, why aren't we calling this biodesign? And if so, do we need new terminologies for us to embrace that part of biodesign? Because now biodesign is known to be such a new, techno-advanced thing. And yeah, I'm not in a position to talk about them, but if you're interested, then you can look at their papers as well. And they have a very nice discussion around more of the historical historical side of biodesign and how to integrate that and not to completely separate it from what has been happening before.
All right. So, Kuzma, your answers? Yeah? Okay, cool. So, I'll do the last question from me personally, then we can also open the floor. We still have 15 minutes until the official closing. But my last question is essentially about Paris. So Paris has a long history of whatever you want, art, history, design, but it has a very strong preference towards more fundamental research, which is a bit of a problem when biodesign is concerned, right? So it's not that open. There's not that many labs. I can attest to that because I didn't do any of my internships here. I had to always leave because probably Vivian's place is the only one where you can do something like that. But at the same time, he has a kitchen plus. So the question is, where do you see the intervention, perhaps the most fertile ground for interventions in Paris? Is it through fashion, for example, because there's so much interest in the materials on that side? Like, is it going to be mycelium leather that is going to break through, or bacterial cellulose based materials, or is it something else? Is it, for example, interior design with mycelium furniture, or something radically different? What do you think?
I do think it's not grown in Paris. I think the fashion show is in Paris, but the leather from mycelium is not grown in Paris. And maybe the dresses and the clothes are made in Paris, but not the growing. I think what is needed is some place to experiment. But when you are, you know what you want to do, and you have your process, and you need to scale a little, you have to go out of Paris because the place, the square meter is too expensive. So, yeah, come to Nîmes, I mean.
I mean, my question was not really directed towards like the biomaterial when that's going to be, ubiquitous. It's more about the innovation space, like people getting attracted by it. Because let's say you are in Newcastle at the Hub for Biotechnology in the Built Environment, who do amazing research. it's 4 hours away from London. No one comes to their exhibitions. You know, MA Biodesign at Central St. Martin's in central London, they do a show which, you know, has a lot of nice visuals, which also shows interesting research, but more from the design and artistic side, and hundreds of people come just because it's in the city of London. It's more of a like, when are we going to have that in Paris? Because now at the Paris Design Week, for example, there's usually like, this year there wasn't a single talk or panel about biodesign. Last year there was one where Guillaume Grave spoke. At Pavillon de l'Arsenal there was a nice exhibition where Alia showed their chair, but also there were plenty of other people. But then it's not very consistent. It doesn't seem like Paris is proactively seeking to become like a player in the scene of biodesign, whereas London, for example, might be trying to do so. So do you see more opportunities to change that?
I think there are two big questions in. The first is, in fact, in Paris, so there are a sort of, in France, the culture of elitism. So that means if you don't come from good school, it's more difficult to sell your project. This is it's something which is really important. So NC and SAD are the best school in France and in Paris for design. So if you come from that, it's better if you come from another. So this is one of the first things, but they have huge difficulties for produce their own biolab because as other schools in Paris, like Les Beaux-Arts de Paris, they don't have enough place for grow something. It's impossible for them. And it's too political and yeah, it's really too political. So it's one stack, I think. The other one is I forgot now. Yeah, it's bad. But the other one is about something, but I forgot. I forgot. It's done.
I think biodesign is truly global. I mean, as you said, like you find inspiration from any places in nature, and even like ourselves, for example, with PD, we ended up actually working more with external non-French companies. For example, two of our main partners, they're based in Turkey for the dyeing process, and in the US for the brand. Actually, you know, a good idea for developing biodesign would be to convince the brands to have an agenda in terms of biodesign, of biomaterials, or just having an environmental agenda at least that can provide, you know, integrate innovative ideas around biodesign in their product. It would guide, at least, like it will make a pass. I don't know which brands are the most open to this. Again, because most biodesign has been very experimental, and there has been like a few startups, and some of them like PD or Ecovative, for example. They successfully grown and actually made a product that you can buy. But they, well, Ecovative is a B2B startup, so they sell to other company. We are also a B2B product company, and so a lot of the brands at the end they're like more like B2C, and so it's, I would say it's all about awareness. Like, how do you create more awareness for the brands to be aware that there is this opportunity to use more biomaterials, for example? It's a whole like relevant question for the near future. It's a question also for us, PD, because what's going to be a bottleneck for development is that more brands want to use our biodyes. It's all about, you know, making them, you know, choose us compared to a normal dye, like a petrochemical dye. So I would say Paris, San Francisco, London, I don't think it matters a lot. At the end, what matters is that if you have like the right team, and I think having this global biodesign community is going to help a lot. So be matched basically and find a good, interesting idea, and just go through the same process of as if you were a deep tech startup. So having this mindset of, are you here for the art process, or you want to manifest something, or are you here for the product itself? And if you're here for the product, then you need to have like a mindset of making a tech development and making a product, having a business model in the end. And there are a lot of organizations helping you to create your deep tech startup today. So I think we need to plug basically designers, biologists to this kind of paths of like basically creating deep tech startups. And we will see probably more biodesign inspired product today or tomorrow.
But do you see, or like, what do you think about the problem of the fact that oftentimes bio-based alternative or like, more biodesign-related alternatives, biomaterials, mycelium leather, et cetera, are usually never going to perform as good as, the synthetics or whatever, the things that have 100 years of, forego in terms of innovation. Do you believe that there's an incentive for biodesigners and bioartists to show the properties of these materials that aren't just not accessible for synthetic fibers, for example, like self-healing or such things? Or do you believe that we can develop the bio-based solutions, we can force them kind of to be just as good as cowhide or indigo, etc.?
You can, but it's hard. Like you need to have as a goal, like high performances. Again, like if you're here for the performance or the manifest, it's great, it's important, you need to tell a story. But it's very much different from actually doing a real product with actual performances that industry will going to buy. It's very, very different. Like for us, when we started PD, the first dye we were working with was definitely not going to cut it. And then we really had to prove that our dye was at the standards of existing dye in the market. Otherwise, nobody would have bought it.
Okay, I see.
Maybe just quickly to interject there. You're dealing with biodesign, which means that it's been millions of years in evolution, right? So take advantage of it, right? I mean, you compare chemicals that, like you say, maybe have 150 years of history, right? You talk about materials that are made in nature for billions of years. You have to understand what they were made of and therefore design appropriately, right? And not do things. I mean, yes, you can take one thing and do something completely different, but then, you are working with a material which is over specialized for one thing, so it's very hard to put it somewhere else, right? But just like we know genetically to go back in time and say, okay, where is the last sort of more broad spectrum protein or broad spectrum material? Biomaterials are exactly the same, right? You can go back now, and that's I think where synthetic biology can help you, right? Not just working with the final material that you can extract from nature, right? But going back in time and saying, well, now, I don't know, you have scales in different animals, right? But what were the scales made of, right? 100, 400 million years ago. What was this protein that had more versatility and then tuned, right, specialized, and then you can recreate these proteins, right? And you can recreate these materials. And I think that there is back in time work that needs to be done by designers. Few do it in the world, not many. And that I think would be the right way of working with biomaterials, because this is taking evolution into your advantage, and the bioengineering, synthetic biology, computational biology, everything that we know now, right, that 10, 20 years ago was not available. I think that's where the trajectory of sort of future biodesign would go.
Yeah, thank you, Ayal. I agree totally. And what matters, and I think what I also is saying is, you need to be guided by performance. and sometimes what you have in front of you in terms of biomethodologies is not the right one, but could be an inspiration for you. But at the end, if we want, it's like you're trying to make a chair. So you want the chair to be stable, right? You want to be useful, to be sustainable. So at the end, you need to start with a spec sheet. Okay, it needs to be able to do that. And what is the best method that I know or I could find out? Yeah, I think it's really important. Again, I'm not dismissing the idea of doing exploration and doing manifest projects. I think it's very important to tell stories, inspire, but it shouldn't be like the end game of biodesign. And the thing is, doing a real product is really hard. It took us 10 years of R&D to come to this. So you need to be ready to come into this game, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, just for continue on what Ariel say, I'm sort of point not really when people ask me why we can't have the same norms like chemical products. I say most of time people think we have produced that, but in fact it's really nothing in the history. We produced this in 70s because we need to produce new way to make production of plastic because we are in war. So it's why they push million on the table to chemists for do this specific chain of polymers. And in fact, we can do exactly same sort of structure with biopolymers from many resources because many things on Earth produce biopolymers, so it's not a problem. But now, how we can do it with a green chemistry because we are capable to do it, or how can we use synthetic biology for produce it directly from living organisms because we can do it. And why it's important? Because this is already sustainability. This production can be destroyed by another organism. The problem of this chemistry, modern chemistry, is these molecules are so strong, so they are built in the specific way that who make this not capable to be destroyed by any organism. So it's why it's pollution. It's just basics. But now we have the capacity to counter this. So how we do what with the technology we have, and just because we can produce a sustainable world. But maybe we don't want, in fact, because if we want to really create a sustainable world, maybe we have to think again how we live with materiality. What is exactly this type of materiality with this future world where we have to live with it? I mean, maybe a world produced from bacteria, and maybe people are a tiny bit afraid about the ideas to sleep on a bed produced by bacteria, but maybe it's normal because we come from there, but just we have forgot, and we, after the 20th century and the hygienist movement, of course, is really well. We are here because we have this movement, but maybe now we can make better than that. Not to be just afraid, but something more interesting and more smart with this world.
I agree. Okay, it's time. Does anyone have an urgent question? Or you want?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but just a comment. Yeah, there's actually European law, at least in EU, about specifically the products that sell themselves as the sustainable products. So I think next time maybe we can also have people who are in the legal system to talk with together. Yeah, that's the idea. Thank you.
It's a good idea. We should convince them finally. All right. Thanks a lot for this panel. It was highly enjoyable. So I'm just going to, I guess, close off, but let's switch because I need to call my team. You can sit down, then I call my team, then we say bye, and then we go out. Thank you.